And welcome to this episode 165 of the Thought TM Navigating Now virtual roundtable series, Hot Takes Edition, on-site edition, downtown Cincinnati. I'm here with a partner here at Thought TM and my business partner, Griff Krenbrink, a Cincinnati native who is here to share a hot take on one of the most underrated and underrepresented delicacies of the fine Cincinnati cuisine. And we'll touch on that in a moment. But welcome to Hot Takes.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here. Here we are on the famous Court Street in downtown Cincinnati, just south of Over the Rhine, OTR, for the folks who know a little bit more. We're here on Court Street and Vine Street. And what we're here to talk about is one of the most underrated and frankly beloved, if you know about it, restaurant locations in the world.
Absolutely. And so here on Hot Takes, this is our opportunity to provide a provocative perspective on topics in life and business that we all should be talking about, but maybe we are not. And so we're going to pair a little bit of this underrated cuisine with an underrated skill that is oftentimes talked about, but maybe not represented in the business world, as active listening. But first, Griff, what do we have in front of us here today?
Okay, so as I mentioned, here we are, Skyline Chili. Now, Cincinnati chili is famous. It's famous. Yes. Some say infamous. I say famous. Now, you could go to other cities and they give you a burger, maybe some ribs, yada, yada, yada. It's the same old, same old. You come to Cincinnati, you get a truly unique dish full of flavor, full of layer, and full of, frankly, uniqueness that you're not going to get anywhere else. So what we have in front of us, it's two of the most underrated foods that exist on this planet. We have the whey over here, and we have cheese conies. All right, so what you're going to have in both of these dishes, you're going to have that traditional world famous but secretive recipe, Cincinnati chili. In this case, it's on top of spaghetti with some cheddar cheese put on top. In this case, you put it inside of a hot dog. Hot dog's in there, the chili in these as well. So you're going to get this amazing rush of flavor, nice, amazing drenched flavor of meat that's in there.
That's incredible. Now, I'm a Midwest guy, but I am not familiar with these layers being on top of each other. So what makes this dish so underrated, would you say?
It's hard to pin down one thing, which I think is why it's such a great thing. Is like you can't say why it is you love it so much. You just do. Mm-hmm. Part of it's nostalgia. Part of it's the uniqueness. Part of it's just being in Cincinnati, having a Cincinnati dish with a Cincinnatian.
Yes.
That's what it's.
I can feel it. I almost feel like I'm a part of the block here. We also learned walking in here that this is one of the original franchise locations, and was the third location for Skyline City here in Cincinnati, which makes it also even more unique. I believe that the current owners are the third or second generation owners
and third here,
which is absolutely incredible. So. Yeah. Should we dive in?
I think we have to dive in. I think what I'm going to recommend is we start with our cheese conies here. Okay. So what you're going to notice is, go ahead and just grab one of these. What you want to do is just take a big hunkin' bite right out of it. What I'd love you to do is do that. Take it in, savor it, and maybe give the audience a little bit of what you're experiencing.
That is some underrated taste, right? Like right off the. That is really interesting. A lot of layers, a lot of flavor.
Like you got the soft, warm bun, get the hot dog in there. You're not going to taste that anywhere else.
It's actually really good. Yeah, it really is.
Mm-hmm. No, very important. First time listeners out there, never been to Cincinnati. You come to Cincinnati, you come to Skyline. You see something like this in front of you, you do not twirl. They will kick you out of the restaurant if you twirl those noodles. What you need to do is cut. You cut in dice.
I love that.
So Anthony, what you're going to do this time, go ahead and take that fork. And you're just going to sliver in. Sideways.
Very meticulous here.
Cut into it. Give yourself a nice bite, and then go ahead and give that just a nice shovel.
And this is spaghetti with
the chili, the same cheese. New type of delivery mechanism. Same great taste.
Now I come from good Italian food. I come from some of the best spaghetti in the world. That is very interesting, very unique, and I'm a fan.
Thank you.
I'm a fan. My hot take is this is underrated.
Yeah, the only hotter take about Skyline is it's even better the second time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're talking here about our hot takes on both the most underrated flavors in the Midwest and maybe even in the country. And we're sharing that a little bit here at Skyline Chili. Let's also talk about, Griff, maybe a hot take that you have on active listening. This is a topic that has been in our everyday vernacular for years, particularly the last few years, as our ability to connect with each other, both in life and in business, has become more and more important. So active listening is this new required skill of all of today's employees. But let's unpack that a little bit and talk about what that specifically looks like. So why active listening?
Yeah. Well, so I'll say maybe starting off, first off would be the sheer underinvestment in the skill. And dare I say, the only thing more depressing of the number of people who have tried Skyline Chili in the United States is the number of people who have actually received some kind of training in listening.
Ooh,
It's
I like
actually
that
less. About
connection.
2% of people in the broader U.S. population have received any kind of formal education around listening. So you think about something that you do so often, trying to hear people, understand where people are coming from, is something you don't really get a lot of formal practice in. So the first problem is we just don't get the chance to do it. Second is we might think we're good at it, but our bodies and our biology kind of works against us. We think about how our brains work. We're always looking for shortcuts. We're always kind of seeing things through our own lens. So when we're hearing people, we might think that we get what they're saying to us. What we're really hearing is our own internal interpretation of what they're telling us.
Yes.
So a lot of the challenges is we're not necessarily told this is a very important thing. No one's really giving us formation. The second is our anatomy is actually kind of playing tricks on us, thinking we're better than we actually are.
Even some of us who are skilled facilitators, trained in active listening, I think can fall victim to interpreting things through our own narrative, which I think is one of the biggest watch points as you think about connecting with your audience or even with a colleague. So we know the importance of and the rarity really of active listening in our world. Let's talk more specifically about what good active listening looks like. Grift, if you could give us even just like one or two tips that we could put into place tomorrow in our discussions that allow us to be more active listeners, what would those be?
Yeah, really great question. I would say the first one would be the same tip I would give you about listening as I would give you around being in Skyline. Be
I love that. The transition is so powerful.
It is something that all of us betray on a day-to-day basis. We're talking with people we love, we're talking with people we care about, with people we work with, and yet we find ourselves falling prey to the Slack notifications, the text messages, the emails, the new calendar notifications that are coming in. And how often are we truly giving people around us undivided attention? That starts with that really, really disciplined presence, which is a lot easier said than done. But what I would ask everyone out there is to think about and be honest with yourself of how present you are being in conversations you have on a day-to-day basis. So the first step, very easy one, again, to say, harder to do, be present in your conversations. Second one, similar to presence, is don't necessarily just take your own interpretation of what people are telling you. Try to remember language they use. You'll be surprised of how important that is and how much that means to people when you can actually replay words they use, not just ideas you thought they brought to. So really getting clear on the type of words and phrases they're bringing, because it will help you remember intention of what people are trying to use. So the second tip is around presence. And the third, which again might seem sense, but something we don't do very often, is check for clarification. When you think you might know what someone is telling you, check in. Am I getting this right? Am I hearing you correctly? What I'm hearing you say is this. You'd be surprised at how often we don't do that, and we leave conversations maybe with more misalignment than we actually know.
I love that. Grift, thank you so much for sharing some of these tips in active listening and also just the urgency around it today. I think what our hot take today is that there are a lot of underrepresented, underrated aspects of both cuisine and communication.
Absolutely.
With cuisine, sometimes just don't sleep on what's been tried and true. And what I love about this Skyline Chili and these dishes particularly is that it's been the same for years and years and years. And you folks who are native to Cincinnati stand behind this flavor. You stand behind this dish. And I absolutely love that pride that you take, which I also want to see you take a bite of one of these as well, too, right?
Well,
that I'm not the only one.
One thing I do want to also say is not only is it the dish, but think about the service and the level of civility you received.
Incredible.
Coming in here.
Incredible.
Not a single question asked. In fact, every single opportunity given to us to be able to sit up in this booth, try some delicious food, and have a little good time.
Probably the most Cincinnati thing ever, right? Was just we were absolutely welcomed with open arms. That is not only customer service, but it's just welcoming people in, which is one of our favorite things. And we're happy to tell the story here. We're actually going to tag this location so that you can all check it out.
1001 Vine Street, 1001 Vine Street in downtown Cincinnati, Ohio. Come to get your conies, come to get your three-ways, come for a good time, and be present.
Be present. Be present. Grift, anything else you want to mention about Cincinnati while we're here? We're here down here on a leadership. Our thought team leader team is here really starting to think about the future of our organization. Cincinnati has been an incredible host. We've got to meet a little bit of your family and your new baby, Charlie, which is super exciting. What else should people know about this great city?
So that would be a whole other episode of itself. What I will say is there are a couple of interesting facts about Cincinnati people probably don't know. Number one, like Rome, it is a city of 7 hills. It's a city of 7 hills. Go ahead and look those hills up. I can't necessarily name them off the top of my head, but there are 7 hills in Cincinnati. What else is very interesting? Obviously, we have a bunch of sports teams, very, very large amounts of pride. One other thing that is very unique to Cincinnati that you won't get anywhere else. Someone finds out you're also from Cincinnati, their first question, and anyone who's from Cincinnati will know this, where did you go to high school? That's it. That's it. That's really the only question they ask you. That's all they care about. Where'd you go to high school?
I love that. That's such common ground. Well, again, Griff, thank you so much for hosting us here in Cincinnati. And I feel like a field reporter. This is so much fun. We have to do more on location live shoots like this. But we're going to stay here with Griff and Amanda and finish up this incredibly layered, very dense I maybe won't say nutrition, but definitely flavor.
I think so.
Here at Skyline Chili. Again, Griff, thank you so much. And for all of you tuning in, thank you for joining us for this episode of Hot Takes. We'll see you again next week. We go live every Thursday at 3 o'clock Central, thoughteum.com/live. Have a wonderful rest of the week.